Jory Bloom-Nagley, and I am Marcy's sister and Dan's aunt, and I am most honored to have been asked to officiate at today's wedding. It means the world to the bride and groom that you have all made it here safely today to celebrate with them. And I'd like to give a shout out to those who are watching on Skype this afternoon, or attempting to watch on Skype this afternoon. To Lauren's grandparents, and to Sarah and Brock and Charlotte and Annabelle, to Sydney and Mike, and to Amy and Keith, welcome everybody. I know you're all looking forward to the evening festivities, so let's begin this wedding ceremony. Lauren and Dan met in January 2011 at Cleveland State University. Looking back, it's amazing that a relationship even blossomed, given where they met. Dan's least favorite environment, a classroom. Dan sat behind Lauren in communication research with Dr. Babin. It took Dan a few weeks to notice Lauren, one of those rare occasions when she showed up to class not in her scrubs. Over the course of the semester, Lauren and Dan worked together on a few projects. Well, Lauren did most of the work, but needless to say, the two became friends. When the semester ended, Lauren came to realize that she didn't even need the class to graduate. And that class ended up being the only class that Dan even took that semester, as he was coaching and starting his career with the Indians. Lauren and Dan remained friends in the months to come, and they got together for lunch every so often. When Lauren became available, Dan pursued, and then Lauren withdrew. And once Dan grew tired of the lack of progress, Lauren started to pursue. This went back and forth for a period of time until the day in January of 2012 when Dan asked Lauren out on a real date, and the rest, as you know, is history. From the very beginning, dating was full of baseball games. Dan got a job working with the Lake County Captains down the road from Lauren's house, which meant if Lauren wanted to see Dan, she had to see some games first. She saw her fair share of baseball that summer. Later that fall, Dan moved to Arizona to work for the Cleveland Indians at the Players Develop Complex. Over the next 3 years, Lauren and Dan traveled back and forth to Phoenix several times a year. Lauren was finishing up nursing school and trying to get her career off the ground. Dan was not only pursuing his career, but a childhood dream as well. Despite their difficult schedules, the relationship only grew stronger. As time passed, the compatibility between the two of them could not be denied. In August 2015, Lauren and Dan got engaged in Sedona, one of their favorite places on the planet. Over the past year, Lauren and Dan went on a proverbial roller coaster ride. Lauren officially moved to Phoenix in January of this year, only to travel back to Cleveland every 6 weeks to continue to work. Once they finally figured out a routine, they picked up again and moved right back to Cleveland in July. They pushed through from there, getting to experience the World Series and all it had to offer this past October. It's safe to say that with the nature of their jobs and the opportunities they have to go almost anywhere their hearts desire, these two will never be bored. When thinking back on their own love story, Lauren and Dan can appreciate that their lives were carved out of something that so easily could not have been at all. Life is beautiful that way. Now here they are today with all of you, their friends and family that care enough about Lauren and Dan to pick up everything and escape the real world and all responsibilities for a few days to celebrate with them. Lauren and Dan planned this trip in an effort to spend unrushed, quality time with all of you in one of the most beautiful locations in the world. To them, one night of dinner and dancing in Cleveland just didn't seem enough. This weekend, they want to have adventures with all of you and make memories with all of you. This weekend is a celebration of not just Lauren and Dan, but a celebration of the family and friends who have shaped their relationship and made each of them the people whom they are today. Everyone in this room has always been and always will be among the most important people in Lauren and Dan's lives. They look to you all for guidance, advice, support, reassurance, and comfort. Let's start with their parents. Marcy and Josh, along with Gary and Palma, have over 60 60 years of marriage experience among them. Lauren and Dan look to you for guidance, love, support, reassurance, and comfort. That is not going to change. Those 60-plus years of marriage did not come easy. They will be counting on the four of you to remind them that the reward of having a loving, committed partner is always worth it. Lauren and Dan are fortunate enough to have Mimi here. For Dan, she's been a tremendous role model for a myriad of reasons. She's always carried herself with a tremendous amount of dignity and strength, even in the face of hardship. She truly embodies the term matriarch. Her actions have made it abundantly clear that the happiness and well-being of her family is the motivation for almost everything she does. This wedding isn't only the celebration of family. Lauren and Dan have many friends here to share in the occasion today. Standing beside Lauren is her best friend, Chelsea. Lauren and Chelsea have been friends since they were 8 and 10 years old when they met on the playground. In the past, Lauren liked to think being older meant that she taught Chelsea everything she needs to know. But looking back, Lauren realizes it's Chelsea who taught her what being a loyal friend really means. From today forward, Lauren will commit to being Dan's loyal friend for the rest of their lives. And then there's Dan and Kevin. They've been inseparable since the day they were born. Since they're both sandwiched between two sisters, Dan and Kevin were raised like brothers. For Dan, for better or for worse, Kevin has always been a constant in his life. He can't remember a time when Kevin wasn't around. Whether they were two little boys getting into trouble or two grown men making the cross-country trip out to Arizona in January of 2013, Kevin's friendship is proof that friends are family. As Lauren and Dan embark on their first days, weeks, months, and years of marriage, they will still be looking at the example they've set, that you've all set, for how to love and to be loved. Family is what they are choosing to become. They want the same things that you all have shown them is possible by the examples you've set of love, kindness, compassion, and forgiveness. This is what has set the tone for the people they've become, the lives they wish to lead, and the kind of marriage they're going to have. With the vows they're about to make, there are so many things that Lauren and Dan will miss. At Dan's childhood home in Shaker, he won't be able to comment, at least not on a regular basis, on the endless supply of gum wrappers, popsicle sticks, and cans of Diet Mountain Dew that can be found in and under the couches. The constant stream of noise, whether it be bickering or ominous snoring, even if nobody is necessarily sleeping, that can be heard from Lauren's home in Eastlake, will still be there, but without Lauren's commentary. While they're worried about how their parents will get along without their commentary and without their thoughts and advice, Lauren and Dan will move on with the knowledge that they shared as much as they could while they were under their parents' roofs. It'll be up to Lauren and Dan to develop habits that their children can endlessly complain about when it's their turn to raise a family. We all know what goes around comes around. Although there are some differences in their upbringing, Dan and Lauren are both proud of where they come from. Despite those differences, love is what they share. It's the great unifier. It's a universal truth. No matter who we are, where we come from, what we believe, we know that love is what is always right. Dan and Lauren share a firm belief that the ability to love is the best part of humanity. I asked Dan and Lauren to share with me what it is that they love about each other. What I learned is that this is a couple that appreciates the other for all the right reasons. Dan loves how supportive Lauren is, and that she brings out the best in him, that she values friendship and sees the best in everyone else too, and that she comes from a strong family like him. Lauren loves Dan's empathy and compassion and his great listening skills. Dan loves that Lauren loves baseball. Lauren loves that Dan loves baseball so much that it has them moving all over the country, with Dan working the strangest hours while reminding herself about those free World Series tickets. Dan loves that they can laugh at each other and that Lauren lets him give her grief over the fact that he was right about scheduling the wedding in November, just in case the Indians made a playoff run. They each love how passionate the other is about their work, and they each love each other's sense of humor and that they can make each other laugh. As you know, Lauren and Dan, your parents are so very proud of you. Your impatient sense of justice, Dan, and your compassion and loyalty stand out. Lauren, it's your warm and bubbly personality and your ability to know what you want and make things happen, in addition to your caring and compassionate nature. You two are truly made for each other, and your parents couldn't agree more. Dan and Lauren, may you cherish the home and family you create together. May all the years to come be filled with moments to celebrate and renew your love. May your love be a lifelong source of excitement, contentment, affection, respect, and devotion to one another. Now we come to the fun part, where all of us are here today to witness and to share their vows and exchange of rings, the outward and visible sign of the inward and invisible bond which Lauren and Dan share, and of course, their unending love. Dan and Lauren, please join hands. Dan, I'd like you to place the ring on Lauren's finger. It's a symbol of your desire to be faithful to one another, and the circular shape of the ring evokes your unending commitment. Dan, do you take Lauren to be your lawfully wedded wife, to have and to hold from this day forward, in sickness and in health, for richer or poorer, till death do you part? Lauren, would you place the ring on Dan's finger, please? Lauren, do you take Dan to be your lawfully wedded husband, to have and to hold from this day forward, in sickness and in health, for richer or poorer, till death do you part?
I do. C. It's only appropriate. C. C. Oh.
Right now?
Yep.
Oh,
right now.
Works.
Hell yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I now pronounce